guys, so I went to the bookstore earlier today and I picked up 4 new books, so I wanted to come home and do like a little mini Glitterature book haul. And I know that I've done a couple of book hauls before and I'm like, I'm gonna do Glitteratures on these books before I buy another book haul, but it doesn't always work out that way because sometimes I'll read 1 or 2 books and just get completely like sucked into one of them and I want to go buy the sequels to the books immediately, and I can't touch any other books until I finish it because I just get so wrapped up in the storyline. And for the last little bit, that has been Vampire Academy. I read all 6 books in the series pretty much back to back, and so all the other books that I bought in the last couple of hauls have just kind of been put aside because I was so in love with that series. And one of the books I bought today is actually the spin-off of that one called Bloodlines, which I'll get into in a second, but I just wanted to go back and buy a couple of books that have I've had my eye on for a little while. And one of these books is guaranteed to be my next Glitterature because I actually got home from the bookstore and immediately sat down on my couch and started reading it. And I am already so into it that I might finish it tonight. Like, I can't imagine doing anything else with my life until I read this book because I am so into it. But I'll show you guys that one last. Okay, so the first book, like I said, is Bloodlines. This is actually written by the same author that wrote the Vampire Academy. Oh my goodness, that was my cat. He's outside my door because he's like really hyper right now and he was climbing up my headboard like with his little claws, and so I put him out. Now he's causing havoc and chaos out there. This is actually a spin-off series. So Rose and Lissa were the main characters of the Vampire Academy, and this is actually following Sydney's storyline. She was the alchemist in the Vampire Academy books, and I actually was kind of bored with her storyline in the Vampire Academy series. I didn't really like the parts of the book where she was in. I just thought she was kind of a boring character, and maybe it was that it was so secretive, like what the alchemists were, that I was just kind of confused by it. But I'm interested in reading the series where she's the main person, even though I didn't really like her storyline, because I feel like maybe this will embellish on it a little bit and I'll understand her more. I really liked the Vampire Academy series so much, and I finished it and I felt like I loved that there was another book that I could grab even though I had finished the series. So it's a nice little spin-off and I'm excited to read it. The next one is a book that I've actually read before. I read this like October and November of last year, so it's been a year, and it's The Hunger Games. I read all 3 books last year, but it's weird because I don't remember much of the first one. Like, I feel like I read it very quickly because I was really into it and I was wanting to read all 3 books over break when I was home at my parents' house. And I read it just really quickly, and I feel like I might have just kind of skimmed it almost just to get through it so I could get to the next book, because I don't remember it as well as I remember most books that I read. I have the second and the third book, but I didn't have the first book here, and I just wanted to reread it. Plus, with the movie coming out soon, I just think it's going to be so good. I'm really excited. This is a really great series. I know so many people are sucked into it right now, but I know it's going to explode even more after the movie comes out, kind of like Twilight did. All the people that read the books before the movie came out felt like they kind of, I don't know, knew it before, you know, and that's kind of how it is with Hunger Games. So I really recommend this series. I really liked it, and I want to reread it and do an official Glitterature on the series because I read them and I think I mentioned them before in a Glitterature, maybe, but I have never done like a real one. The next one is The Red Queen. So I did a Glitterature already on The White Queen, which is a book that kind of is like in the parallel time as this one. So they're kind of going on with the 2 families that are fighting for the throne, and The White Queen, I loved that book so much. You can check out my Glitterature on that one if you're interested in that review. I really loved The White Queen, and I mentioned in that Glitterature that I thought there was a book called The Red Queen. Like, I read somewhere that there was going to be a book called The Red Queen that was going to come out, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I went to 4 different bookstores in LA, like big, huge Barnes & Noble type bookstores, to check and see if they had it. I went in one here, I went to one in Pasadena. Like, I looked all over for this book, and I started to think it didn't exist because everywhere I would check, they would check their little, like the bookstore would check their little register and they'd be like, oh, we've never even carried that book. So I started to think maybe like it never actually got printed. Like maybe the author was planning on writing it and then just never got around to it. I just thought it had never been released. I looked online, I looked everywhere. So I was randomly at my bookstore at the Grove the other day, the one that I normally go to, and it was sitting on the same table as one of these other books I picked up. I don't remember which one it was, but it was just sitting next to one of these books on the table. And I thought to myself, I was like, like, it's calling to me. Like, I'm supposed to get this book. I can't wait to read it because The White Queen was so good. The only thing is I kind of feel like I'm biased going into it because I cannot imagine being on the side of the Red Queen. Because if you read The White Queen first, you feel so bad for that family's side of the story that you can't imagine the enemy family like having any sort of empathy for them, because you don't want them to win. So I'm interested to see if the author actually can pull off, when you read this book, being on their side. Like if she can balance it in a way where you actually kind of get torn between the two families, because I feel like it would be a pretty bad book if the whole time you knew this was the enemy family. Like then you wouldn't want them to succeed, and what's the point of even reading their story? The last book is the one that I'm already into. It will be my next literature, hopefully. I hate making promises on here, because then like if another book sucks me and you guys will be like, you promised, but I am so in love with this book. If you like The Hunger Games and you've already read it and you know you've done that whole series and you want something similar, this series, The Maze Runner, this is the first book. I need to go pick up the second book because I feel like I'm going to read this tonight. I'm so in love with it. This is such a good book. So basically, this one is about, like, I read the back of it and I've read like a little bit of it already. I'm so into it already. The plot is very similar to The Hunger Games, where you have some sort of game or test that all of these kids are forced to do, and it's kind of evil, but you don't really know what's behind it. It's very similar. So I am so in love with this book. You guys don't even know. I'm gonna read it. Like I said, I'm probably gonna finish it tonight and do a Glitterature really soon because it's so good. So I highly recommend this one already, even though I haven't even finished it, and I can't wait. Hopefully I'll do Glitteratures pretty quickly on all 4 of these. I know every single haul, I think I have like the best faith in the world in myself that I'm gonna do Glitteratures on each book before buying more, but that doesn't always happen. But these are 4 books that I can definitely see myself reading very quickly, and especially this one because I'm so in love with it. So anyway, that was my quick book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment below if there are any books that you guys are just in love with at the moment, similar to how I am with this one. If there's just a book that has sucked you in, I definitely want to read it. So comment below and I'll see you guys later. Bye.